Tony Phillips, one of MLB's greatest players, was haunted for years by a cocaine controversy that overshadowed much of his career. Despite his incredible talent and achievements on the field, the scandal followed him like a dark shadow. But before we dive into any further, hit that like and subscribe button. On August 10, 1997, Tony Phillips, a talented and well-known figure in Major League Baseball, faced a serious legal issue when he was arrested in Anaheim, California. Authorities charged him with purchasing a small quantity of freebase cocaine. The arrest came after police found Phillips in a hotel room where he was discovered with $30 worth of cocaine and a pipe commonly used for smoking the drug. The incident quickly became public, adding to the pressures of his already high-profile career and casting a shadow over his accomplishments on the field. In court, Phillips pleaded guilty to one count of felony cocaine possession. However, there was an opportunity for him to avoid more severe consequences. The court allowed Phillips to participate in a program that offered an alternative to a lasting criminal record. The terms were clear. He had to complete drug counseling and remain free from drug use for an entire year. This arrangement gave him a chance to work toward personal recovery while proving his commitment to staying clean. Over the next year, Phillips adhered to these conditions, successfully completing the required counseling sessions and steering clear of further drug-related issues. His compliance demonstrated a willingness to turn his life around and move past the scandal that had brought him into the public eye for all the wrong reasons. In May 1999, nearly 2 years after his arrest, a judge in Orange County, California, officially dismissed the charge. This marked a significant moment of closure for Phillips, allowing him to leave the legal consequences of the incident behind. Phillips had a fascinating journey through the world of professional baseball, filled with both remarkable achievements and personal challenges. Born in Roswell, Georgia, Phillips demonstrated his athletic talents early on, excelling in multiple sports at Roswell High School, where he was a standout for the Hornets. His love for baseball was evident, but he also showed promise in basketball during a brief stint at the New Mexico Military Institute, where he played alongside future NBA player Lewis Lloyd. This blend of natural talent and versatility would come to define Phillips' professional career. Phillips' baseball journey began to take shape on March 27, 1981, when he was traded from the San Diego Padres organization to the Oakland Athletics. The deal included third baseman Kevin Bell and pitcher Eric Mustad heading to Oakland in exchange for pitchers Bob Lacey and Roy Moretti. This trade would mark the start of Phillips' rise in Major League Baseball, and he wasted no time making an impression. He became the first player in Oakland Athletics history to hit for the cycle on May 16, 1986, going an impressive 5-for-5 against the Baltimore Orioles. It was a historic moment, showcasing his ability to contribute in every aspect of the game. That same year, on July 6th, Phillips tied an American League record by recording 12 assists in a single game against the Milwaukee Brewers, a testament to his defensive skills and versatility in the field. Despite these highlights, Phillips experienced ups and downs during his time with Oakland. In 1988, he had a tough season at the plate, managing a batting average of just .203 and .212 at-bats. The Athletics made it to the World Series that year, but Phillips' struggles were underscored when he struck out against Orel Hershiser of the Los Angeles Dodgers for the final out, cementing the Dodgers' championship. However, Phillips bounced back in 1989, raising his batting average to .262. That season, the Athletics dominated the San Francisco Giants to win the World Series. In a fitting end to the series, Phillips made the final out by fielding a ground ball hit by Brett Butler and throwing to Dennis Eckersley at first base, sealing the victory for Oakland. After the 1989 season, Phillips moved on from Oakland to join the Detroit Tigers. His time with Detroit marked a significant turning point in his career, particularly in terms of offensive production. He became known for his keen eye at the plate, drawing walks at an impressive rate. In 1992, he led the American League with 114 walks and scored a league-best 114 runs, showcasing his ability to get on base and make things happen for his team. The following year, Phillips improved on those numbers, drawing 132 walks to lead the league again and scoring 113 runs. His performance in 1993 earned him a 16th place finish in the MLB Most Valuable Player Award voting, highlighting his importance to the Tigers' offense. The 1993 season was also notable for a unique statistical achievement. Phillips became one of only 2 players in MLB history to record 100 or more hits, walks, runs, and strikeouts in a season, while hitting fewer than 10 home runs. The only other player to accomplish this rare feat was Chone Figgins in 2009. It was a testament to Phillips's ability to contribute in multiple ways, even without relying on power hitting. In 1994, Phillips continued to excel offensively, hitting 19 home runs and drawing 95 walks. However, his time with Detroit came to an end in April 1995 when he was traded to the California Angels for outfielder Chad Curtis. The trade occurred during the extended offseason caused by the 1994-95 Major League Baseball strike. Despite the disruption, Phillips had a standout season with the Angels, setting a career high with 27 home runs. However, as the team's leadoff hitter, his opportunities to drive in runs were limited, and he finished the year with just 61 RBIs. Still, his ability to get on base remained a key asset as he walked 113 times that season. Phillips moved again in 1996, joining the Chicago White Sox. He continued to be a force at the plate, leading the league with 125 walks and scoring 119 runs for the second consecutive year. Midway through the 1997 season, Phillips returned to the Angels in a trade that sent Chad Kreuter to the White Sox. Once again, he demonstrated his discipline at the plate, drawing 102 walks, marking his third consecutive year and fifth overall with over 100 walks in a season. As his career wound down, Phillips spent time with several teams. In 1998, he played for the Toronto Blue Jays before being traded to the New York Mets. He eventually returned to the Athletics for his final MLB season in 1999. Over the course of his remarkable 18-year career, Phillips played in 2,161 games and amassed an impressive list of accomplishments. He recorded a cumulative wins above replacement of 50.9 with a single-season best of 5.2. His lifetime on-base percentage of .374 highlighted his ability to reach base consistently. He finished his career with a .266 batting average, 2,023 hits, 300 runs scored, 360 doubles, 50 triples, 160 home runs, 819 RBIs, 100 percentage of stolen bases, and 1,219 walks. Defensively, Phillips was versatile and reliable, posting a lifetime fielding percentage of .968 and a defensive WAR of 6.3. In 13 postseason games, he hit .217 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs, contributing to the Athletics' success in the late 1980s. Even after his MLB career ended, Phillips's love for baseball never waned. He continued playing in independent leagues, joining the Yuma Scorpions of the North American League, where he reunited with former Athletics teammate Jose Canseco. In 2011, at the age of 52, Phillips made headlines again when he was involved in an altercation with former Scorpions manager Mike Marshall, who was then managing the Chico Outlaws. The incident escalated when Phillips punched Marshall during a disagreement, leading to battery charges against Phillips. Remarkably, Phillips came out of retirement once more in 2015 to play for the Pittsburgh Metal in the Pacific Association of Professional Baseball Clubs. His passion for the game and determination to stay connected to baseball were evident, even as he approached his mid-50s. Tragically, Tony Phillips' life came to an untimely end on February 17, 2016, when he passed away from an apparent heart attack in Arizona. He was 56 years old. Despite the controversies and challenges he faced, Phillips's legacy as a dynamic, versatile player and a pioneer in some of baseball's most unique statistical achievements remains an enduring part of his story. His career, marked by resilience, adaptability, and an unyielding love for the game, serves as a reminder of the complexities and triumphs that define the lives of professional athletes. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe to Baseball Icons so that you never miss an update. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check this one out too.
Willie McCovey, a name synonymous with power and grace in baseball, took the major leagues by storm when he debuted in 1959. Imagine stepping onto the field and instantly becoming a sensation. That's exactly what McCovey did, winning the National League Rookie of the Year award after just 52 games. His first swing was a harbinger of greatness as he went 4 for 4 against the legendary Robin Roberts. From that moment on, fans knew they were witnessing something special. Before we descend down onto the troubles of McCovey, be sure to like and subscribe to us for more content on MLB Icons. A legendary baseball player known for his incredible hitting prowess, McCovey had a career that was not just marked by home runs and accolades, but also by significant controversies, particularly surrounding his financial dealings. The story of McCovey's struggles with taxes is a reminder that even the most celebrated athletes can find themselves in precarious situations. In the mid-1990s, McCovey faced serious legal troubles that would cast a shadow over his illustrious career. career. The issue stemmed from his failure to report income earned from autograph signings and memorabilia shows. Imagine being a Hall of Famer and suddenly finding yourself in the crosshairs of the IRS. That's exactly what happened when authorities discovered that McCovey had not reported approximately $70,000 in earnings from 1988 to 1990. This wasn't just a minor oversight. It led to charges of willful failure to file a federal income tax return. The fallout was swift and severe. In 1995, McCovey pleaded guilty to the charges. The gravity of the situation hit home when he was sentenced to 2 years of probation and fined $5,000. Picture the scene: a beloved sports icon standing before a judge, facing the consequences of decisions that many fans would never have imagined he would make. It was a sobering moment for both McCovey and his supporters. This scandal didn't just affect McCovey personally, it also resonated throughout the baseball community. He wasn't alone in this predicament. Duke Snider, another baseball legend, faced similar charges around the same time for failing to report income from memorabilia sales. The two players became emblematic of a larger issue within sports: the financial missteps of athletes who sometimes struggle to navigate their post-playing careers. Fans were left wondering how such celebrated figures could fall into such serious trouble. As McCovey dealt with the repercussions of his actions, he also had to confront the public's perception of him. The media coverage was relentless, painting him as a cautionary tale for other athletes. It's one thing to be known for your accomplishments on the field. It's another to have your name associated with tax evasion. McCovey's reputation took a hit, but he remained resilient throughout this challenging period. Fast forward to January 2017, when President Barack Obama issued a pardon for McCovey's tax evasion conviction. The news came as a relief to many who admired McCovey not only for his baseball talent, but also for his character off the field. This pardon was significant. It acknowledged that mistakes can happen and that redemption is possible even after serious missteps. For McCovey, it was a chance to clear his name and move forward without the weight of past errors hanging over him. The pardon didn't erase what had happened, but provided an opportunity for reflection and growth. McCovey expressed gratitude for this second chance, emphasizing how important it was for him to put this chapter behind him. He had battled health issues in recent years, and this pardon allowed him to focus on enjoying his life rather than being defined by past mistakes. Despite these controversies, Willie McCovey remained a beloved figure in baseball. His impact on the game transcended his financial troubles. Fans continued to celebrate his achievements and contributions to baseball, while acknowledging that he was human and capable of making mistakes like anyone else. The story of Willie McCovey serves as an important reminder about accountability and redemption. Athletes are often placed on pedestals, expected to be role models without flaws. However, when they stumble, it can serve as an opportunity for growth, not just for them, but also for those who look up to them. McCovey's journey through controversy illustrates that even legends face challenges off the field. For Willie McCovey today, we celebrate not only his remarkable career, but also his resilience in overcoming adversity. His life was filled with highs and lows, showcasing both his incredible talent as a player and his struggles with financial issues that many can relate to in some way. In reflecting on McCovey's legacy, we recognize that success is not solely measured by achievements, but also by how one navigates life's challenges. His story encourages us all to strive for greatness while understanding that mistakes can happen along the way, and what truly matters is how we respond. But McCovey's legacy is not just one of controversy, he represents something far greater. McCovey established himself as one of the most feared hitters in baseball. In 1963, he claimed his first home run title with an astonishing 44 homers, earning him the nickname Stretch. His powerful left-handed swing sent balls soaring into the stands, captivating fans and instilling fear in pitchers. Teammate Willie Mays once remarked that McCovey could hit a ball farther than anyone he ever played with, a testament to his raw power and skill at the plate. The late 1960s were a golden era for McCovey. He was not just hitting home runs, he was dominating the league. In 1969 alone, he led the National League in home runs, RBIs, and slugging percentage. That year, he was honored as the National League MVP, solidifying his status as one of baseball's elite players. Picture him at Candlestick Park, the crowd roaring as he stepped up to bat, knowing that every pitch could end up as a highlight reel moment. However, McCovey's journey wasn't without its challenges. Throughout his career, career, he battled injuries that would sideline many players. Knee, hip, and foot problems plagued him, but never defined him. Instead of allowing these setbacks to diminish his spirit, McCovey pushed through, proving time and again that determination can overcome adversity. His resilience became a part of his legacy. One of McCovey's most memorable moments came during the 1962 World Series against the New York Yankees. With 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning of Game 7 and runners on second and third, McCovey stepped to the plate. The tension was palpable. Fans held their breath as he connected with a pitch that seemed destined for glory, but fate had other plans. Yankees second baseman Bobby Richardson made a spectacular catch to end the game. It was a heartbreaking moment for McCovey, but also a defining one. It showcased his ability to rise to the occasion even in defeat. As his career progressed into the 1970s, McCovey continued to make waves. After spending some time with the San Diego Padres and Oakland Athletics, he returned to the Giants for his final seasons from 1977 to 1980. Even in his twilight years, McCovey remained a formidable presence at the plate. He retired with an impressive total of 521 home runs and 1,555 RBIs, a record that would stand tall among baseball's greats. The culmination of McCovey's illustrious career came in 1986 when he was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. The honor was well-deserved. It recognized not just his statistics, but also his impact on the game and its fans. During his induction speech, McCovey reflected on his journey with gratitude, acknowledging those who helped pave his path while expressing deep appreciation for baseball itself. Even after hanging up his cleats, McCovey remained an integral part of the San Francisco Giants community. He often returned to Candlestick Park and later Oracle Park to share stories and inspire new generations of players and fans alike. His legacy lived on through countless tributes from teammates and fans who remembered him not just for his statistics, but for his character and love for the game. In addition to being an extraordinary player, McCovey was also known for his humility and kindness off the field. He engaged with fans and young players alike, understanding that he had become a role model through his achievements. His ability to connect with people made him beloved not only in San Francisco, but across baseball. Tragically, Willie McCovey passed away on October 31st, 2018. The news sent ripples through the baseball community as fans mourned the loss of one of its greatest legends. Yet even in death, McCovey's spirit remains alive. His records still stand as benchmarks for aspiring players and reminders of what hard work can achieve. Today, when we think about Willie McCovey, we remember more than just statistics. We celebrate a man who changed baseball forever. His towering home runs and clutch performances are etched into history alongside stories of perseverance against all odds. As we reflect on his life and career, it's clear that Willie McCovey wasn't just a player. He was an icon whose legacy will endure for generations to come. So next time you watch a game or see a ball fly out of a stadium, think back to Willie Stretch McCovey, the man who taught us all what it means to be great both on and off the field. His journey reminds us that greatness is not merely measured by numbers, but by heart, dedication, and an unwavering love for the game we cherish so deeply. For more content on baseball icons like McCovey, be sure to like and subscribe to us, and click on this video here for more.
Frank Robinson's life was often marked by controversies, from being caught with a concealed weapon to facing marital and financial issues, which kept him in the headlines. Despite these struggles, his great achievements still stand out, even after his recent passing from cancer. But before we proceed, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. On February 9th, 1961, Frank Robinson found himself at the center of a heated argument in a Cincinnati restaurant. During the exchange, tensions escalated, and Robinson pulled out a .25 caliber pistol. The incident quickly drew attention and added to his growing reputation for controversy. A little over a month later, on March 20th, he appeared in court and pleaded guilty to the charge of carrying a concealed weapon. The judge ordered him to pay a $250 fine, which was a significant amount at the time. He was married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce, leaving a trail of personal challenges and public scrutiny. His first marriage to Barbara Ann Cole came to a bitter end in 1968, and the breakup wasn't a quiet one. There were allegations of infidelity and abuse, though these claims were never proven in court. Still, the accusations stirred up negative publicity, casting a shadow over his image at the time. As the years went on, Robinson faced difficulties that extended beyond his personal relationships. Despite earning a substantial income during his playing days and later as a manager, financial troubles caught up with him later in life. In 2012, he shocked many of his fans by filing for bankruptcy. Robinson cited poor investments and a steady decline in income as the reasons behind his financial struggles. For a man who had achieved so so much on the field, this revelation surprised many and raised questions about how he managed his wealth. Robinson's journey into professional baseball was nothing short of remarkable, filled with achievements and challenges that shaped his legendary career. He attended McClemens High School in Oakland, where he showed early promise as an athlete. On the basketball court, he was teammates with none other than Bill Russell, a future NBA legend. On the baseball diamond, he shared the field with future stars Vada Pinson and Curt Flood. These early experiences with top talent hinted at the greatness Robinson was destined for. Robinson also played American Legion Baseball, a stepping stone for many future big leaguers. In 1953, his talent caught the eye of Bobby Maddock, a scout for the Cincinnati Reds, who signed him to a contract worth $3,500, a substantial amount at the time, equivalent to nearly $40,000 today. That year, Robinson made his professional debut with the Ogden Reds in the Class C Pioneer League. He wasted no time making an impact, hitting an impressive .348 with 17 home runs and 83 RBIs in just 72 games. His talent was undeniable, and it earned him a promotion to the Tulsa Oilers in the Class AA Texas League the following season. However, Robinson's rise wasn't without setbacks. After struggling with the Oilers in 1954, he was sent down to the Columbia Reds in the Class A South Atlantic League, where he spent 2 seasons honing his skills. By 1956, at the age of 20, Robinson was ready for the big leagues, making his major league debut with the Cincinnati Reds on April 17th. That season, the Reds shocked the baseball world by leaping into first place by mid-season after years of poor performances. Robinson played a key role, leading the team with 18 home runs by mid-season and earning a spot as the National League's starting left fielder in the All-Star game. The Reds fought hard that year, staying in the pennant race until the very last day of the season. They finished with a strong 91-63 record, just 2 games behind the Brooklyn Dodgers. Robinson ended his rookie season with a .290 batting average, 83 RBIs, and 38 home runs, tying a major league record for most home runs by a rookie. That incredible power-hitting display earned him the 1956 National League Rookie of the Year award and firmly established him as one of baseball's brightest young stars. The following years solidified Robinson's reputation as an elite player. In 1957, he improved his batting average to .322, tying Hank Aaron for third in the National League batting race. He also found himself at the center of a voting controversy when 6 Reds players, including Robinson, were voted into the starting lineup for the All-Star game after an intense ballot-stuffing campaign by Cincinnati fans. Commissioner Ford C. Frick intervened, allowing Robinson to keep his spot, but replacing others with players like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. That incident led to fans losing their voting rights for All-Star selections until 1970. Robinson continued to shine on the field, winning his only Gold Glove award in 1958 and improving his stats in the subsequent seasons. By 1961, he had transitioned to right field and enjoyed another standout year, batting .323 with 37 home runs and 124 RBIs. His performance earned him the National League MVP award and helped the Reds clinch the pennant. Although they lost to the New York Yankees in the World Series, Robinson's leadership and skill were undeniable. Robinson was more than just a great hitter. He was also a fiercely competitive and aggressive player. His hard-nosed style of play sometimes led to on-field altercations. In 1957, he spiked shortstop Johnny Logan during a slide, causing Logan to miss 6 weeks. In 1960, a hard slide into third base led to a heated fistfight with Eddie Matthews, the Milwaukee Braves Hall of Fame third baseman. Robinson's fiery nature made him a force to be reckoned with and earned him both admiration and controversy throughout his career. By 1962, Robinson reached new heights, hitting a career-high .342 and leading the league in several categories, including runs scored, doubles, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage. His dominance at the plate cemented his status as one of the greatest players of his era. Throughout his career, Robinson's passion, talent, and determination left a lasting mark on the game of baseball. Robinson's career took a dramatic turn on December 9, 1965, when the Cincinnati Reds made the shocking decision to trade him to the Baltimore Orioles. Reds owner Bill DeWitt, known for his history of successful trades during his time in Detroit and his work rebuilding the Reds, justified the move by famously referring to Robinson as not a young 30. The Reds, strong offensively but in need of pitching, received pitcher Milt Pappas, pitcher Jack Balchin, and outfielder Dick Simpson in return. However, the trade proved to be one of the most lopsided in baseball history. While Pappas, once consistent in Baltimore, struggled in Cincinnati, Robinson thrived in Baltimore, proving that age was just a number. In his very first season with the Orioles in 1966, Robinson made history. He won the Triple Crown, leading the American League with a .316 batting average, 49 home runs, and 122 RBIs in 100 155 games. On May 8, 1966, he achieved another extraordinary feat, becoming the only player to hit a home run completely out of Memorial Stadium. The massive 541-foot shot off Cleveland's Luis Tiant was so legendary that a flag marked "Here" was flown at the spot where the ball left the stadium until the Orioles moved to Camden Yards in 1992. That same year, Robinson's bat carried the Orioles to their first World Series title. In a four-game sweep of the defending champion, Los Angeles Dodgers, Robinson was the standout performer, hitting two crucial home runs off Don Drysdale, one in Game 1 and another in Game 4, which was the only run in a 1-0 victory that clinched the championship. His heroics earned him the World Series MVP award and cemented his status as a postseason legend. Robinson wasn't just a powerhouse on the field, he also brought humor and leadership to the Orioles clubhouse. During the 1969 season, he presided over the team's Kangaroo Court, a lighthearted ritual held after every win. As the self-appointed judge, Robinson handed out fines for minor infractions, like $1 for every lady talked to during a game, and presented playful awards for blunders. For example, pitcher Jim Palmer once received the John Mason Base Running Award, a decrepit old cleat, for his base running mistakes. Palmer later credited the Kangaroo Court with helping the team bond and stay loose during their run of success. Robinson continued to deliver spectacular performances. On June 26, 1970, in a game against the Washington Senators, he achieved an almost unbelievable feat by hitting two grand slams in consecutive innings, the 5th and 6th, off the same three runners, Dave McNally, Don Buford, and Paul Blair. This remarkable moment highlighted his uncanny ability to rise to the occasion. Under Robinson's leadership, the Orioles won 3 straight American League pennants from 1969 to 1971 and claimed another World Series title in 1970 by defeating Robinson's former team, the Cincinnati Reds. Known for his sharp wit, Robinson added a touch of humor before the 1969 World Series, famously quipping, "Bring on the Mets and Ron Gaspar." When corrected by a teammate that it was actually Rod, he joked back, "Okay, bring on Rod, stupid." As his playing career wound down, Robinson's journey continued to evolve. In December 1971, the Orioles traded him to the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he played 1 season. Though his numbers dipped, his work ethic and leadership earned the respect of teammates. He then moved to the California Angels in 1972, where he became their first designated hitter and reunited with his old friend Vada Pinson. In his 2 seasons with the Angels, Robinson remained productive, hitting 50 home runs and driving in 160 RBIs across 276 games. In September 1974, Robinson's career took another turn when he was traded to the Cleveland Indians. Soon after, Cleveland made the groundbreaking decision to name him player manager, making Robinson the first African-American manager in Major League Baseball history. In his first at-bat as a player manager on opening day in 1975, Robinson delivered a memorable moment, blasting a home run off Doc Medich of the Yankees. While injuries limited his playing time, his presence as a leader was undeniable. Robinson retired as a player after the 1976 season, leaving behind a legacy of 586 career home runs and countless unforgettable moments. His final at-bat came fittingly against the Orioles, where he singled in a run, a perfect ending to an extraordinary career that was equal parts brilliance, grit, and resilience. Robinson's incredible baseball journey spanned 21 remarkable years, leaving an unforgettable mark on the game. Over his career, Robinson batted an impressive .294, belted 586 home runs, drove in 1,312 runs, and collected 2,943 hits. When he retired, those 586 home runs ranked as the 4th most in baseball history, trailing only the legendary names of Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Willie Mays. Even today, his achievements still resonate deeply. Robinson is 3rd on the Cincinnati Reds all-time home run leaderboard with 324, behind only Johnny Bench and Joey Votto. His .554 slugging percentage remains the best in Reds history, a testament to the sheer power he brought to the plate. Robinson's career was filled with milestones that showcased his talent and determination. In his rookie season, he tied Wally Berger's record with 38 home runs, a mark that stood for decades until Pete Alonso surpassed it in 2019. On opening day, Robinson was in a league of his own, setting the record with 8 career opening day home runs, a record that still stands. One of those was especially historic, coming in his first at-bat as a player manager. Perhaps one of Robinson's greatest feats came in 1966 1986 when he won the American League Triple Crown, leading the league with a .360 batting average, 49 home runs, and 122 RBIs. That achievement placed him among the all-time greats, as only two players, Carl Yastrzemski and Miguel Cabrera, have matched that accomplishment since. Adding to his legacy, Robinson remains the only player in Major League history to win the Most Valuable Player award in both the National and American Leagues, a testament to his unparalleled ability to dominate wherever he played. As his playing career wound down, Robinson set his sights on breaking barriers. By the early 1970s, he was vocal about his desire to become the first black manager in Major League Baseball. That passion, however, led to friction with his then team, the California Angels, who ultimately traded him to the Cleveland Indians in 1974. Shortly after joining Cleveland, Robinson made history on October 2, 1974, when he was named the team's player manager, becoming the first African-American to manage in the majors. It was a groundbreaking moment, not just for baseball, but for sports as a whole. Robinson's time managing in Cleveland had its challenges. Balancing playing and managing was no easy task, and he often clashed with the team's general manager, Phil Segui. Additionally, tensions with players, such as pitcher Gaylord Perry, sometimes made the job more difficult. Despite these hurdles, Robinson led the Indians to a winning record in 1976, their first in 8 years. However, after a rough start to the 1977 season, Cleveland decided to let him go. Robinson didn't stay off the bench for long. In 1981, he became the manager of the San Francisco Giants, staying with the team until partway through the 1984 season. After a brief stint as a hitting coach for the Milwaukee Brewers, he joined the Baltimore Orioles front office. Then in 1988, he returned to the dugout, taking over as the Orioles manager. That year, Robinson guided the team through one of the most dramatic turnarounds in baseball history. The Orioles had lost 107 games the previous year, but under Robinson's leadership, they rebounded to finish with an 87-75 record in 1989. For his efforts, Robinson earned the American League Manager of the Year award, though the Orioles narrowly missed the postseason in a thrilling division race against the Toronto Blue Jays. Later in his managerial career, Robinson took the helm of the Montreal Expos in 2002, at a time when Major League Baseball owned the struggling franchise. He brought stability to the team, leading them to consecutive winning seasons in 2002 and 2003. However, the Expos faltered in 2004, their final season before relocating to Washington, D.C. Robinson continued as manager of the Washington Nationals, earning his 1,000th managerial win on April 20, 2006, becoming the 53rd manager in MLB history to reach that milestone. Robinson's leadership extended beyond wins and losses. He was known for his integrity and willingness to make tough decisions, such as when he pulled Nationals catcher Matt LaCroix mid-inning during a game in 2006, a rare move for a manager. Despite winning the game, Robinson was visibly emotional afterward, showing the respect he had for his players and the difficulty of the decision. Off the field, Robinson was widely celebrated. In 1982, he was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame as a Baltimore Oriole. He also earned places in the Halls of Fame for the Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Indians, and was honored with statues in front of 3 stadiums: Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Oriole Park at Camden Yards in Baltimore, and Progressive Field in Cleveland. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe to Baseball Icons so that you never miss an update. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check this one out too.
When did it all go wrong for this Hall of Famer? Don Drysdale had big plans for his golden years, but his big league lifestyle caught up with him when he was just 56. It's no mystery why the fiery Don Drysdale had the nickname Big D. At 6'6" and 200 pounds, Drysdale was an imposing figure both on the field and off. On the mound, it didn't take much to make him mad. Anything from looking at him the wrong way to digging in the batter's box would earn you some Big D chin music.
I did because I had a rule, Steve, and I just believed that I had to protect my players. Right. And I had a very basic rule. If one of my players goes down, 2 of yours go down. If 2 go down, 4 go down. If 3 go down, we go on down the line, you know. And I've always said, it doesn't take a Rhodes Scholar to figure that out.
And Don didn't discriminate. Whether you were a future Hall of Famer or a wet behind-the-ears rookie just called up from the farm team, you had better get ready to dive out of the way. Nothing illustrates this better than when the Giants' great Willie Mays, who was probably the best center fielder of all time, came up to bat against Drysdale and the Dodgers. Baseball, and Big D put the next pitch high and tight, hitting Mays squarely in the back of the neck. Once again, the unwritten rules of baseball had been broken and someone had to pay the price. And since Don grew up playing baseball, he knew all of the unwritten rules, but nothing irritated him more than a player who hit a homer off of him and then ran around the bases too slowly, or too quickly for that matter. And God help you if you stood for even a split second at the plate and watched that ball fly out of the park. That would definitely earn you a fastball at your head in your next at-bat, and probably the at-bat after that too. But Don's famous temper wasn't just confined to the mound. Although by all accounts, Don was the nicest guy in the world about 99% of the time, it was the other 1% that you really had to watch out for. For starters, Don was a very private person, or to put it more accurately, he was as private a person as you could be when he was one of the most recognizable people in all of sports. Especially when you lived in Los Angeles, a town where spotting famous athletes and celebrities was a frequent occurrence, and the residents were not shy about interacting or asking for an autograph. For Don, the constant attention from fans, while often appreciated, could be overwhelming, especially in personal settings, and one fan in particular was about to cross the line. It happened one night in 1978 when Drysdale, who had been retired almost 10 years at this point, was dining with his agent at the Musso and Frank Grill. This place was everything you think of when it comes to old school Hollywood, and despite opening in 1919, it's still going strong today. Now, while they ate their appetizers, Don noticed a woman at the bar who kept staring at him. Although being recognized in public was nothing new, especially in LA, there was just something about this woman's demeanor that Don just didn't like. He had forgotten all about the strange woman at the bar and was completely focused on his perfectly cooked dinner. Unfortunately, she hadn't forgot about him. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw her leave the bar and walk toward their table, except she was not exactly walking. She was doing that stagger shuffle do-si-do that people about 4 highballs deep into their evening tend to do. Don saw her coming out of the corner of his eye, and just as he took another bite out of his steak, before Don could even finish that bite, the woman, who was seriously slurring her words, said, "Hey, aren't you Sandy Koufax?" Don thought to himself, that's strike one. Drysdale, despite putting up great numbers with the Dodgers, was often overshadowed by Koufax's even better numbers. Of all the people she could have mistaken Don for, Sandy Koufax was at the top of that list. Gritting his teeth, Don did his best to remain cordial. "Close, ma'am. Sandy was the lefty. I'm Don Drysdale." The woman screamed with excitement, bent down and tried to hug Drysdale, but her aim was a bit off, and she accidentally knocked over Don's glass of wine. As he tried furiously to mop up the spill of Cabernet Sauvignon, Don thought to himself, that's strike two. Once again, Drysdale tried to be nice. "Ma'am, it's always great to meet a fan, but my friend and I would really like to get back to our dinner." Whatever she was hoping to hear, that wasn't it. She begins to scream at the top of her lungs about how Don is just another stuck-up jerk who doesn't care about the fans. She couldn't believe he didn't even have time to sign an autograph. "Ma'am, I'd be happy to sign an autograph if you'll let us finish our dinner afterward. Do you have a pen?" But instead of setting her purse down on the table to find the pen, she set it down on Don's plate, knocking his steak to the ground and smashing his lobster tail. That's when the famous Drysdale temper kicked in. He sprung to his feet and pushed her back in the general direction of the bar. The woman staggered, but remained on her feet, and then shuffled back towards the bar, cursing Don loudly and screaming about suing. By all accounts, there was nothing hurt except her ego. The damage had been done. When news of the incident spread, it caused a significant stir. Drysdale's fans and detractors alike debated his actions. Many were quick to defend him, citing his years of dealing with public attention and the pressure of being in the limelight. They argued that celebrities, even sports icons, deserve moments of privacy and that an intrusion, however well-meaning, can be frustrating. Others were less forgiving. Critics condemned Drysdale's action, labeling it as an overreach and an abuse of his physicality. Some argued that his stature as a public figure required him to exercise restraint, even in the face of perceived rudeness. The incident was a stark reminder that public personas can sometimes clash with private behaviors. But, as with most controversies, this one eventually died down. Don went back to his career as a baseball broadcaster, and the woman, I don't know, maybe went to AA? What do you think? Was Drysdale right to push the woman who had interrupted his dinner? Or is that just the price of fame and he should have handled it better? Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Of course, that wasn't the only time he caused a stir during his career as a broadcaster. In 1979, while working as a broadcaster for the then California Angels, Don was involved in a couple of nasty confrontations on the team plane. He loudly stated his opinion that Angel starter Jim Barr, who had an injury that prevented him from pitching in the upcoming playoffs, wasn't really hurt. Not surprisingly, Jim Barr took offense to Drysdale's comments and let him know about it. Then manager Jim Fregosi got involved, and the two had to be separated before they came to blows. Even though he later apologized, the tension between him and the team never really went away, and Don was soon on to greener pastures, taking a job with ABC to call the network's baseball games. But unlike almost every other ex-athlete who goes on to have a career in broadcasting, Don actually did the play-by-play and not the color analysis. And it wasn't just baseball he was calling. During his time at ABC, Drysdale not only did baseball telecasts, but also regional sports football games, as well as the Superstars and Wide World of Sports. Things were going great for Don, and in 1993, when he was just 56 years old, looking forward to another decade or two in the booth, fate had other plans. After calling a Dodgers game in Montreal on July 2nd, 1993, Don returned to his hotel room at La Center Sheridan. The next morning, as the team was boarding the bus for the stadium, they noticed that no one had seen Drysdale. That wasn't completely unheard of, and everyone expected that he had maybe overslept and would find his own way to the stadium soon. But as game time approached and he still hadn't arrived, several broadcast team members were sent back to the hotel to find out what was going on and give him a hard time for sleeping so late. But when hotel personnel went up to Drysdale's room, they discovered his body lying face down on the floor. The cause of death was ruled to be a heart attack, and the coroner's report determined that Drysdale had been dead at least 18 hours by the time he was found. One of the all-time greats was taken way too soon, and while the entire baseball nation mourned, it hit especially hard for Dodgers fans. Blue Nation was still reeling from the death of beloved catcher Roy Campanella. The scrappy backstop had also died of a heart attack, and it had come just a week before Drysdale's sudden passing. But as good as his career as a broadcaster was, let's take a look at his playing days and learn a few of the reasons Don will always be remembered and considered one of the all-time greats. Donald Scott Drysdale was born on July 23, 1936 in Van Nuys, California, to Scott and Verna Drysdale. His father was a repair supervisor for the Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company, and his father, like so many dads whose sons ultimately played Major League Ball, had a brief career as a minor leaguer before giving up on his dream to settle down and raise a family. Don learned the game from his father at a young age and primarily played second base, his dad's old position, until his senior year in high school. After going 10-1 as a pitcher that season, two things happened. First, he was signed by the Brooklyn Dodgers for a $4,000 bonus. And secondly, even though he remained a pretty good hitter, Don would never play the field again. He was assigned to Class C Bakersfield Indians of the California League, where he posted an 8-5 win-loss record with a .346 ERA and had 73 strikeouts. He had always pitched inside, but because of his pinpoint control, he plunked just 3 batters in 112 innings. But that would soon change. His next stop was Canada, where he played for the AAA Montreal Royals of the International League. He started the season 10-2, but injured his right hand and continued to pitch with the pain. It turned out to be a broken bone, and Drysdale lost 9 games in the second half of the season to go 11-11. Pitching with a broken pitching hand? Man, those guys were just built differently back then. Now, despite his mediocre record for Montreal, Don was promoted to the big league squad in Brooklyn. It didn't really matter if he was ready or not. The Dodgers had already lost Johnny Padres to the Navy. Billy Lowe's, Don Besson, and Carl Spooner got hurt. Ready or not, here came Big D. He pitched in 25 games, making 13 appearances out of the bullpen and picking up 12 spot starts. He finished with a 5-5 record, but a sterling ERA of 2.64. He may have lucked into the opportunity because of multiple injured pitchers, but he showed enough in that year to stay with the big club. In fact, despite the fact he had just turned 20 during the season, Don never pitched in the minors again. In 1957, in what would be the Dodgers' last year in Brooklyn, Don was promoted to the rotation. He also began to get a reputation as a headhunter, especially after he ignited one of the biggest brawls in MLB history. It all started on June 13th, 1957 against the Milwaukee Braves. Big D definitely didn't have his best stuff that day, and he gave up a home run to Bill Bruton to start the game. In the second inning, Bobby Thompson doubled and came home on a double by Carl Sawatsky. That brought Bruton to the plate again, and again, he connected with a flat Drysdale fastball and, for the second time, parked it beyond the left field fence. That made the score 4-0 and brought up Johnny Logan to the plate. Now, to quote Drysdale, Logan was strutting around up there and digging in, showing me his teeth and acting like he owned the place. For Don, who wouldn't even turn 21 for another month, this was a bridge too far. He didn't care if the guy had been in the league for 20 years or 20 days. Don sent the next one straight at his head. Logan turned and tried to dive out of the way, but he was too late as the ball caught him at the base of the neck. He crumpled to the ground in a heap. Of course, because this was Major League Baseball in the 1950s, Logan got up, rubbed a little dirt on it, and jogged to first base, all the time jawing at Drysdale and Don giving it right back. Now, as Logan took his lead off of first, Don threw over to first in a pickoff attempt. Now, what happened next is still being debated to this day. When Don threw over, first baseman Gil Hodges stuck out his glove but missed the ball. Though Hodges swore to his dying day he just missed it, Braves fans swore he missed it on purpose. The throw hit Logan in the head as he dove back to first. Logan, who was definitely having a terrible day, once again got up from his second beating in about 2 minutes and charged the mound. Now, the question of why he didn't just punch Hodges, who after all was standing right there, plus he's the guy that actually missed the ball. But Logan, who at 5'11", was pretty tall for his shortstop, but still gave up 7 inches and 30 pounds to Drysdale, was determined to get his pound of flesh. Of course, this caused both benches to clear, and the players came chugging in from the bullpens to join the melee shortly after. The Donnybrook went on for several minutes with just about everybody but the hot dog vendors getting their licks in. When the smoke cleared, Logan and Drysdale had been sent to the showers and the game eventually resumed, albeit with a lot more torn uniforms and scuffed caps. In 1958, the Dodgers moved west to Los Angeles, but they seem to have left their mojo back in Brooklyn. The boys in blue finished under 500 for the first time since 1938, not counting the war year of 1944, and Big D went 12-13 with a 4.17 earned run average. Over the next 10 years, Drysdale would never again have an earned run average above 346, and he finished with a career mark of 2.95. In 1959, Drysdale led the team in wins with 17 and led the league in strikeouts with 242. He also led the league in hit batsmen with 18. Drysdale also made the first of his 9 All-Star appearances that summer at Pittsburgh's Forbes Field. In 1959, the Dodgers closed out the season strong, winning 9 of 11 and overtaking the Giants and Braves to win the National League pennant. There, they met the White Sox in the World Series, and despite getting drubbed 11-0 in the first game, they were able to win 4 of the next 5 to take home the crown. Drysdale picked up a 3-1 win in the critical third game. Over the next 3 seasons, the Dodgers fell short in their bid to return to the World Series. Drysdale led the league again in strikeouts in 1960 with 246 and hit batsmen with 10. The following year, he hit 20 batters, a career high, to lead the majors one more time. But 1962 was a special year for Don. He went 25-9 with a 2.83 ERA. He also led the league in wins, starts with 41, and innings pitched with 314 1/3, as well as strikeouts with 232. His 41 starts were the most by a Dodgers hurler since 1904, and it would also be the first of 4 straight years in which Drysdale led the National League in starts. The Dodgers took down Mickey Mantle and the Yankees in 1963 to win another World Series title, and once again, Don pitched a terrific Game 3, outdueling Jim Bouton with a 3-hit shutout to give LA a 1-0 win. With Don and stellar lefty Sandy Koufax in the rotation, the Dodgers were indeed formidable. They slumped again in 1964, but in 1965 they again won the pennant with Drysdale's 23 wins and Koufax's 26, accounting for more than half of their 97 wins. They dropped the first 2 games to the Twins in the World Series as Drysdale and Koufax were both shelled in their starts, but both rebounded. Don picked up the win in Game 4, and Koufax twirling a Game 7 gem as the Dodgers shut out the Twins to give Don his 3rd and final World Series ring. They won the pennant again in 1965, but were swept by the Orioles in the World Series. Despite posting his first losing record since 1958, Don pitched very well in Game 4, giving up just a single run on a homer by Frank Robinson. But Orioles starter Dave McNally was even better that day, and the Dodgers fell 1-0. 1966 saw the boys from LA struggle once again as their light-hitting team just couldn't keep up. How bad were they? Well, Don hit 300 and led the team in average. Pretty good rule of thumb is if your pitcher is your best hitter, you're probably not winning the World Series. And the news didn't get any better for LA as Koufax was forced to retire with an arthritic elbow at the age of 30. With half of their dynamic duo gone, the Dodgers would never again reach the World Series in Don's career. But it wasn't like he wasn't still doing his part. In fact, from May 14th to June 8th, 1968, Drysdale set a record for consecutive scoreless innings pitched. His new mark was 58 2/3 innings, breaking the record of 56 innings set by Walter Johnson in 1913. 20 years later, Drysdale was working in his first year as a broadcaster for the Dodgers. On September 28, 1988, Orel Hershiser was closing in on Drysdale's scoreless innings record. When Hershiser tied the mark pitching against San Diego, he asked to be removed from the game out of respect for Drysdale and his record. But manager Tommy Lasorda and pitching coach Ron Peranowski persuaded him to go for the record, and he set a new record, 59 scoreless innings. Hershiser pitched 10 scoreless innings in that game, as a matter of fact. When Drysdale was told that Hershiser wanted to be taken out of the game, he said, "I would have gone out there and kicked him in the rear if I'd have been there." But making 35 or more starts for 9 straight seasons ultimately took its toll. He was diagnosed with a torn rotator cuff in his shoulder, and it never got better. After making just 12 starts in 1969, Don retired after 14 years in the bigs. In those seasons, he compiled a record of 209 and 166 with an ERA of 2.95. He also struck out 2,486 batters, posted 49 shutouts, and hit 154 batters. He struck out 200 or more 6 times. He also hit 29 home runs, which is 6th all-time for pitchers. He was 3-3 in the World Series with an ERA, once again, of 2.95. He was a very good pitcher, although he was sometimes overshadowed by Koufax. And in 1984, his 10th year of eligibility, his greatness was finally recognized, and he was elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Thanks very much for watching, and we would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. And please drop us a comment and let us know if you remember Don, either as a pitcher or as a broadcaster. He was truly one of the greats, and we would love to hear your memory.
Bob Gibson fought a lot of battles. He fought childhood diseases, racism, and even a random motorist when he was a senior citizen. But the last battle he fought was the only one he couldn't win, and it cost him his life. No one was as intimidating on the mound as Bob Gibson. Players said Bob was so mean he would throw at his own grandmother if she was crowding the plate. Known to his teammates as Gibby or Hoot, after the old Western movie star, Bob never forgot a slight or an act of disrespect. If you pissed him off in the 8th inning of an April game, you had better believe you were getting one in the ear hole the next time you saw Bob and the Cardinals again in July. Though he stood 6 foot 1 inch tall and weighed an even 200 pounds, those unlucky enough to get hit by a Gibson fastball would have sworn he stood 10 feet tall and weighed at least 500 pounds. Batters say the part that was even worse than actually getting hit by Bob was the glare. He would tug his cap, narrow his eyes to squint, and stare at the batter intently. Said one unfortunate victim, "When you got the glare, that's when you knew it was coming. And believe me, hitting the ball was the last thing on your mind. Whenever I got the glare, all I was thinking about was whether or not my wife remembered to mail the health insurance check." Bob didn't confine his anger to the baseball field or, for that matter, his playing days. In fact, Bob was still out there kicking butt and taking names well after the time he was collecting Social Security and should have been watching Wheel of Fortune and eating dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon. But if you think that's how Gibby spent his golden years, it's clear you don't know Bob. After all, how many 66-year-olds do you know that would chase a stranger for 10 miles at breakneck speeds on the highway just so he could sucker punch the guy when he pulled over to get gas? Here's how it went down. Bob was picking up his new Jaguar from an Omaha car dealership on a Friday afternoon. As he was leaving the dealership, he pulled into traffic and cut off a driver named Miguel Sanchez. Miguel didn't care what kind of car it was or that the man behind the wheel was a first-ballot MLB Hall of Famer. All he cared about was getting even and letting the Jaguar driver know that this act of aggression would not go unpunished. So Miguel did what any of us would have done and likely have done under the same circumstances. He sped up, cut in front of Gibson, and slammed on the brakes. "Don't lie, I'm looking at you. Just because you're not proud of it doesn't mean you haven't done it." When Bob had to slam on his brakes to keep from rear-ending Sanchez, his glasses went flying and hit the windshield with enough velocity to break them in half. He honked his horn and flashed his lights, but to no avail. Sanchez sped up, entered the highway, and mashed the accelerator. Gibson ran a red light but remained hot on Miguel's tail. The chase was on. For 10 frantic miles going west on I-80, they weaved in and out of traffic at speeds that sometimes exceeded 100 miles per hour. Remember, this was Friday afternoon rush hour on a jam-packed major interstate freeway. Finally, Sanchez was able to get some space between them and yanked the wheel violently to the right as he cut across 3 lanes of traffic and fishtailed onto the exit ramp. He breathed a sigh of relief to be rid of the crazy man in the Jag, who looked like he had murder in his eyes whenever he caught a glance of him in the rearview mirror. But as Sanchez pulled over to get gas, he had no idea he wasn't out of the woods yet. Not only was he not out of the woods, he hadn't even entered the woods yet. It was like he was just arriving at the parking lot with a sign with an arrow pointing that said, "Woods this way." As Miguel was filling his tank, he heard a noise behind him. He turned just in time to see the man from the Jag with that wild look in his eyes. That was the first thing to go through his head. The next thing to go through his head was a vicious left-right combination from Gibson that rocked Sanchez and opened up a gash over his eye that required 6 stitches to close. Now the brawl was on. Sanchez got to his feet and tackled Bob like a batter charging the mound. Not only that, but they knocked the nozzle out of his car, and it continued to spew gasoline on the ground, covering the combatants as they wrestled around on the ground like Kurt Angle and John Cena. The scuffle finally came to an end when a couple of bystanders, who apparently had no regard for their own health or safety, stepped in to break it up. Bob stood up, brushed himself off, and because he is Bob freaking Gibson, promptly drove away. But one of the onlookers wrote down his license plate number, and the police eventually arrested him at his home and charged him with third-degree assault. Both men pled guilty and received a sentence of community service. Hopefully, nobody threw trash out of their car on the stretch of highway Bob was cleaning. If they did, I'm sure they received the glare and a string of curse words that would have made Bob's minor league manager proud. How about you? Would you have chased the guy who cut you off for 10 miles on the freeway? Or would you have just let it go, figuring one cutoff deserves another, and now we're even? Please let us know in the comments section so we'll know which ones of you to avoid on the road. Gibson continued to live life on his terms right up until the end. In July 2019, Gibson's longtime agent Dick Sitzman announced that Gibson had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer several weeks earlier and was due to begin chemotherapy. Bob brought the same attitude to his battle with cancer that he brought to everything else. He wasn't going to back down and vowed to kick cancer's butt. Bob fought hard. After chemo came radiation therapy, and after that came every experimental treatment in the book. But in the end, and for the first time in his life, Bob Gibson lost a fight. He had battled for almost a year and a half against that particularly aggressive form of cancer before finally succumbing in October of 2020. And now that we've taken a look at the scrappy senior citizen, let's find out a little bit more about what made Bob Gibson one of the best to ever take the mound. Bob was born in Omaha, Nebraska on November 8, 1935. He was the youngest of 7 children and learned to be a fighter at a very young age. Besides fighting his siblings, he had to literally fight for his life after contracting asthma and rickets as a small child. He recovered in time to become an outstanding athlete, and Bob's brother, who was 15 years his senior, coached him in baseball at the local rec center. The young Gibson was a gifted switch hitter who was lean and fast and could hit for average with a fair amount of pop. He caught and played shortstop, pitching only occasionally. In 1951, the Monarchs became the first black team ever to win the American Legion City Championship. Bob was selected to the All-City team as a utility player. As he set to enter high school, Gibson was looking forward to continuing his baseball career at the high school level. But even though Omaha largely avoided a lot of the overt racism and Jim Crow laws of the South, discrimination and racism were still a part of life for minority communities everywhere in America in the 1950s. And young Bob was about to encounter it in a big way. Gibson was not allowed to try out for the baseball team during his junior year. Supposedly, it was because he had reported a day late for tryouts. Only years later did he discover the truth. In reality, he had been excluded because the coach at that time did not allow blacks on the team. While disappointed, he refused to let one old racist coach's outdated opinion keep him down. Instead, Bob decided to run track. Always the gifted athlete, he set an Omaha indoor record in the high jump and also participated in the broad jump and sprint relays. The next season, there was a new baseball coach in place, and Gibson joined the team, playing the outfield and pitching. He finished second in batting average among city players at .368. Tech won the inter-city tournament, and Gibson was selected to the all-city team as a utility player. But basketball was always Gibson's first love, And after high school, he received a full athletic scholarship to Creighton University to play basketball. Indiana was his first choice, but he was turned down and they sent him a letter stating their Negro athlete quota had already been filled. Once again, racism rears its ugly head. To say Bob has a good career at Creighton would be a massive understatement. All he did was become the university's all-time leader in points per game and third in total points. Gibson's basketball jersey number 45, is one of only 6 that have been retired by the Blue Jays. After college, the Dodgers, Yankees, White Sox, Phillies, and Athletics all contacted him about playing professional baseball, but none offered a substantial bonus. But Bob had an ace in the hole. He had received an offer from the Harlem Globetrotters after they saw him as a member of the college all-star team they played when they stopped in Omaha. Then St. Louis came calling, and Bob was able to have his cake and eat it too. The deal allowed him to play baseball in the Cardinals minor league system for the rest of the summer, after which he would play for the Globetrotters for 4 months. He was Bo Jackson before there was a Bo Jackson. Or, to be more accurate, he was the first Danny Ainge. However, after his first stint with the Globetrotters, the Cardinals sweetened the pot. If Gibson would agree to play only baseball, the Cards would reward him with a $3,000 signing bonus. That's the equivalent of about $35,000 today, so Bob said goodbye to Trotters and reported to the Cards' AAA team in Omaha. Gibson made 10 starts in Omaha before he was sent down to the Cardinals' single-A team in Columbus, Georgia. And while Bob was no stranger to racism, it was the first time in his life he came face-to-face with a blatantly hostile environment in which blacks were confined to second-class citizenship. In addition, he was forced to live and eat in the black part of town, away from his teammates. And it was no better at the ballpark, where he was subjected to racial taunts and language he had never heard before. Luckily for Bob, he made only 8 starts in Columbus before the season ended. In 1958, Gibson went to Florida for spring training for the first time and was once again forced to live separately from his white teammates due to Jim Crow laws in the South. The blatant racism really opened his eyes, and he vowed to do everything in his power to fight against it whenever he could. He split the season between the Cardinals' AAA clubs in Omaha and Rochester and finished with an overall record of 8-9 and a 2.84 earned run average in 33 games. League managers voted his fastball best in league after the season. There was no doubt in his mind he would be in the Cardinals' rotation next year. But in 1959, Bob not only had to battle against the other pitchers for a spot in the rotation, but he also had to fight against his racist manager, Solly Hemus. He told Gibson and outfielder Curt Flood they weren't good enough for the majors and would never make it. That's an interesting take about the pitcher who threw harder than anyone on the staff and a center fielder who was better than just about everyone in the league, except for Willie Mays. Gibson spent most of his time in the bullpen for the next 2 seasons, making only the occasional spot start. But things started looking up when Hemus was fired on July 6th and was replaced by Johnny Keane. Keane didn't give a damn about color. He said, "You're my best 9 men." After that, Gibby was a mainstay in the St. Louis rotation for the rest of his career. There were big things on the horizon for Gibson and the Cardinals. With Flood and Gibson leading the way, the Cardinals established an atmosphere that virtually eliminated racial tensions among the individual players. White players who were not inclined to be so open-minded were challenged by the black leaders on the club in a way that forced them to rethink their attitudes about race. The Cardinals were truly ahead of their time. In 1962, he made the National League All-Star team and finished with a 15-13 record and a 2.85 ERA. His season was cut short, though, when he suffered a broken ankle during batting practice before a September game. But Bob wasn't much for off-season rehab, and he got off to a slow start in 1963 before rallying to win 18 games. The Cards were in the pennant race into September, but fell just a little short of the National League crown. The next season, they let too many games get away from them and found themselves 6 games behind the Phillies with just 2 weeks left in the season. But what seemed like a hopeless situation was turned around completely when the Phillies lost 12 of their last 15 games, including a streak of 10 straight, allowing the Cardinals to win the pennant on the last day of the season. Gibson pitched 4 innings of relief that day against the Mets to get the win, his 19th of the year. The Cardinals took the series from the Yankees in 7 games, with Gibson picking up a crucial win in Game 5 when he went all 10 innings and gave up just 2 runs. He took to the hill again in Game 7, picking up the clinching win and giving St. Louis their first title in 18 years. And for his remarkable run, Bob was voted World Series MVP. Despite Gibson winning 20 and 21 games in the next 2 seasons, the Cardinals saw their hitters start to get old and not produce as they had earlier. St. Louis finished 6th and 7th in the National League standings, and it was beginning to look as if the Cardinals, just like the Knack or Eagle-Eye Cherry, were going to be one-hit wonders. Then in 1967, boosted by some new bats and a rejuvenated pitching staff, St. Louis ran away and hid from the rest of the National League, winning 101 games and finishing 10.5 games ahead of second-place Giants. In addition, Gibson proved once again he was not only tougher than you, but he was tougher than anyone you ever met. It happened in a July game against the Pirates when Gibby took a line drive off the bat of Willie Stargell right off his shin. The training staff came out to check on him, but Bob gave them one of his infamous glares and sent them scurrying back to the dugout. He faced 3 more batters before his injured fibula snapped in 2. Seriously, they just don't make them like that anymore. He returned in time to notch 3 complete game victories in the World Series, once again taking home MVP honors as the Cards beat the Red Sox in 7 games. Gibson was riding high, but he had no idea 1968 would see him have arguably the best season of any pitcher in history and leading to rule changes that would forever alter the way baseball was played. Bob finished the 68 season with a record of 22-9 and a 1.12 ERA, the lowest earned run average of any pitcher since the dead ball era, and a mark many baseball experts believe will never be broken. He had a streak of 47 scoreless innings and tossed 28 complete games, including 13 shutouts. And just in case you're not impressed yet, there were 19 complete games thrown in 2024. Total, 30 teams, over 250 starters, 19 complete games. 3 pitchers had 2 and 16 others had 1. Like I said, there was only one Bob Gibson. The 1968 World Series saw the Cards square off against the Detroit Tigers in an epic clash for the ages. The Tigers had their own pitching phenom in Denny McLain, who had just won 31 games, becoming the first and only 30-game winner since Dizzy Dean did it in 1934. Though Bob had complete game wins in Games 1 and 4, including striking out a World Series record 17 batters in the opening contest, he was bested in Game 7 when center fielder Curt Flood misplayed what would have been an inning-ending fly ball into a triple, allowing the Tigers to score the only runs of the game. 1968 was dubbed the year of the pitcher because of numerous dominant performances, and owners were not happy. They decided to lower the mound from 15 to 10 inches and shrink the strike zone by over 40%. They were called the Gibson rules, and they worked to perfection, increasing offensive production and ensuring we would never see pitching numbers like that again. That was also the pinnacle for Gibson and the Cards. St. Louis got older, traded off some veterans, and not winning another pennant for the rest of Gibson's career. Bob had a few more big moments, including winning 23 games and his second Cy Young Award in 1970. He also pitched his first and only no-hitter in 1972 and made his last All-Star appearance in 1973. Bob lasted 2 more years, but after being relegated to the bullpen in 1975, retired abruptly before the Cardinals left for their final road trip of the season. You gotta admit, that is a very Bob Gibson way to go out. Bob was elected to the MLB Hall of Fame in 1981, his first year of eligibility. He remained active in his later years, including a couple of stints in the majors as a pitching coach and opening a popular restaurant in St. Louis. Thanks very much for watching, and we would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. We also know some of you got to see this mountain of a man pitch in person, and we'd love to hear from you. Please drop us a comment and let us know your memories of the one and only Bob Gibson.